What's up, Spotlight fam? It is your girl Rose with the Spotlight DMV, and today I am very, very excited. Listen, y'all, it's Christmas Eve, and I am out here. I'm in the heart of Adams Morgan at Shanklin Hall. And if you don't know about Shanklin Hall, it is a Black-owned social club that allows for community to gather and for us to create some movements. So I'm happy to be doing this interview today from Shanklin Hall. Thank you guys for the space. And so I am here with an amazing, amazing talent out of the area. He is a singer. He is a writer. He is a musical phenom.
Oh,
And we
wow.
will be getting into his background and journey as a creative and into what he's working on now, what y'all should be looking out for. And we actually met recently at
Mhm.
Black Cow about 2 or 3 weeks
Yep,
ago.
yep, 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 yep.
Yeah, Black Cow and Bowie, they're doing their Sunday after church live music. And there's a whole rotation of artists that are coming through there. And so a few weeks ago,
Mhm.
this gentleman was one of them. And I don't know if you're following me already on Instagram, but I highlighted some of your music there.
Yes, you
Man, you
did.
were amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And so when Reggie hit me up and he was like, listen, he's going to be performing on Christmas Eve. Can you be there? And I was like, hell yeah, I could be there. Yes, I could be wherever he is at. And so tonight we are going to be learning about this amazing talent together. And so let me go ahead and introduce Kenneth Jamaal Whittington,
Hey, everybody.
also known as Jamaal Sings on the Gram. Welcome to the Spotlight, Jamaal.
Thank you so much. I'm super nervous. But grateful for the opportunity. Thank you for taking the time this evening to be with us, to be here. Okay.
No, this is wonderful because you know what I love about my platform is that I'm able to give local talents a space to tell who they are and introduce you to people that may not have heard of you. So let's just get into it now. You know, I don't know too much about you. Like I
Okay.
said, I met you
Okay.
about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so let's go back to the beginning when the lights aren't shining and you don't have a mic in your hand.
Mhm.
Tell us, who is Kenneth Jamaal Whittington?
So Kenneth Jamal Whittington is, let me start from the top. I'm a Baltimore native.
Mhm.
Okay. I am a bona fide church boy. Born and raised in the pew. I come from a very musical family. So I am just an extension of dreams and talents and abilities that existed way before I got here. And so those are the shoulders I stand on. I am a brother. I am a son. I'm a defender. Um, I love life. I love to laugh. Obviously, our common thread here is music. I love music. Um, and everything else that you'll get to know will be prompted by whatever you ask.
Yeah, no, listen. So, you know, there's this whole thing because the Spotlight DMV is centered on Prince George's County and on the DMV area. And you know, there's this whole thing about is Baltimore the DMV? Is it not the DMV? You being native, I being native, we know it's not the DMV. However, Baltimore has such an amazing creative scene happening, whether we're talking about music, whether we're talking about art, whether we're talking about food, you know, Charm City.
Sorry, our food is better. Thank you.
I'm not gonna say too much about that right now, but I will say the food scene is amazing. It really
You're
is.
welcome.
And so I did wonder about your background in music. And
Mhm.
so you said you have a musical family. So tell us about that, you know, because you talked about a musical family and about being in church, a
Mhm,
church
mhm,
boy.
mhm.
And a lot of us know that we get our roots in the church through music.
Mhm.
So what was it like growing up with music in your household?
Oh my God. That's a good question. I'll start from the top. My mom and my dad and my grandmother are my introduction to music appreciation, my introduction into singing in church, really. My mother and I share the same artist, Anita Baker.
Mm.
Anita Baker was the soundtrack of my childhood.
Yeah.
My grandmother, my mother's mother, is a learned pianist, church organist, and she had three little girls, and she taught them to sing. So, one of them being my mom. My great grandfather was a pastor of a church, so PK kid. Most
Yes.
PKs pick up instruments because they have to carry the ministry, and so that effort carries down to my life. Oh my gosh, I've got cousins who've traveled the world singing for so many artists. Musicians run through my family, songwriters run through my family. Also, authors. My dad and my cousin and my grandmother are also authors.
Mm-hmm.
Poetry, short novels, things of that nature. So I come from a line of left brain people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then of course, church is a huge vehicle for driving talent, and that is my foundation. Um, Church choir, church praise team, the standard introduction to music and industry as well. Because my home church also gave space to large acts to come through, like
Yes.
the Winans and Ty Tribbett and
Wow.
Donnie McClurkin. Like I grew up watching those people on stage minister, and that just furthered my interest and furthered my journey into where we are today.
I love that you have that family with such a rich background in the arts. My mom didn't play piano, but she loved music.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say maybe third or fourth grade,
Okay.
we took piano lessons, and it was great until I didn't like it anymore
Okay.
because it was weekly, every week. And so in high school, I wanted to do other things. And she was like, you are going to take those lessons. And so I would go, but I didn't value it. And now I'm just like, man, I wish I would have kept up with my piano lessons because
Same.
yeah, like being in that space and hearing people just jam out, I'm just like, dang, that could have been me. That could have been me. But I also love again, like I said, a lot of people get their foundation in church through music ministry, and that your church gave that space for that.
Mhm.
And church is also a very encouraging place. Like whether you can really sing or not, you're going to get a lot of encouragement. So when was that moment? Like how old were you when you really
That's
realized
a super
that
good
you
question.
could sing?
That's a super good question. Oh my goodness. I don't even remember what the production itself was, but it was a play that my grandmother voluntold me to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, this is a really good question. Throwback. I had to walk down the center aisle. It long story short, is a heaven or hell type situation, but sorry. But I was walking down the aisle. I was probably about 12. This is, I'm remembering this in real time. And I had to sing, Jesus loves me, this I know, all the Bible tells me so. And I was so scared. Backstory, my home church is humongous. You fit about 1,000 people. It's pretty
Oh,
big. It's a
wow.
big building, and it's a lot of space to take up. And there's just little old me, and I'm
Yeah.
singing this song, and my family knew I could sing, but in the church space, they were just getting familiar with it, and they heard me whispering it as I'm walking down the center aisle of the church, and it was up from there. They ended up sketching that segment out because I underperformed it, but I ended up singing on the praise team and singing on the choir and everything. And yeah, that was my first like encouraging moment, like, oh, I could do this. Like then,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's a good question.
No, I love that. And I'm even like visualizing you coming down the aisle. My mom was the superintendent for the Sunday school of our
Mhm,
church.
mhm,
And
mhm,
we still talk about her productions, right?
mhm.
And she really liked the way that I I read some of the poetry and things like that. So she would always give me like some of the long ones. I was always so nervous.
Yeah, yeah,
And even to the point where I feel like I just was so nervous that I stopped doing it. Like I was just like, no, I don't want to do it. I can help you prepare, but I'm not getting up in front of everybody. I just refuse to do it, which is kind of crazy that
because now here we are.
yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, those spaces are important because not just for the encouragement level, but it's the place where you kind of cut your teeth
Yes.
and get a good sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And that was a thing for me because, yes, I have the extension of my family who is talented and all of those things that come with it. But identifying my ability, my gift, my calling as an individual
Uh-huh.
was so much more paramount. And just having that foundation helped to stabilize it. So it is scary, but I'll finish this thought here. My thoughts about my home church are if you can make it there, you can
Yes.
just about make it anywhere. Because while they are encouraging, they are very direct people. So yeah, I totally understand.
No, I love that. And then obviously, that encouragement carried you outside of the church doors into roles and opportunities that you're seeing the fruits of that labor now. But talk to us about that middle piece of it, because, I see you now when you're in place singing and, people might look at that and be like, oh, well, he started from church and now he's on stages. But rarely do we really hear about the journey and, oh, it took me years to get to where I am. So tell us about that piece of it. Because you mentioned some large acts that came out of your church.
So I will say, my 20s, that was the building stage of life. A lot of local events. I was more in the gospel scene then at the time, so much more gospel concerts with other gospel acts in Baltimore who were starting around at the same time, um, which led to other opportunities because those acts were operating at a higher level. So then it turned into me singing background for a lot of my peers. I'm a part of a company called Darren Atwater and Soulful Symphony. I was blessed to be a part of that aggregation. I started at 20. I'm still actually a member. Let me correct that. I was out of that relationship. I was able to do we call it PBS back at home, but I think on a broader sense, it's Maryland Public Television.
Oh, yes.
So
Uh-huh.
we've done there is a broadcast of the company. We did a movement called Songs in a Strange Land. It's on YouTube. Go look it up. Beautiful black orchestrated piece with a black orchestra, black singers. I mean, just black and black.
Mhm.
And it is one of the most paramount musical experiences of my career. That led me to serving in some pretty large assemblies in the DMV. It led me to two tours, Italy and Switzerland, and that's it. But I've been twice.
That's
Um,
quite a lot though, you
yeah.
know?
Writing, I've done recording sessions. I need to put this out there. I am still a part of Charles Butler and Trinity. I got a chance to feature on our second live recorded album, which debuted number 2, the single did. So that was great. But just a lot of, I don't want to say grunt work because I don't want it to have a negative connotation, but a lot of sowing seeds,
Yes.
planting as you go. You never know what's going to pop up, but a lot of time spent doing that. So a lot of grunt work.
No, I love that because a lot of times when I hear people talk about building something and they're at a certain point, what they talk about is when I first started, I had to serve, I didn't just jump in and
hmm
get to this, but
hmm
there was a
hmm
period where I had
A
to
proven
serve.
period. Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
And so what did you find that training ground taught you that you took forward with you?
The biggest thing is your talent only gets you to the door. your character brings you to the other side of it. That's number one. Number two, and this is my favorite line. I don't work I don't work for the moment. I work for callbacks.
Oh, amen to that.
Okay.
Yes.
Cause you can think in your mind you've done well, but the stamp of approval is when they call you back.
Yeah.
And being on time, being pleasant, having a smile on your face, being able to pivot when things are hard, um, understanding, and this is a personal thing, understanding that what we do is bigger than us at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just remembering that I'm blessed with a burden, and the burden of delivering love through song to people in a world that feels super loveless. Carrying those things for me, are those are the things I carry that um help me along the way.
There's something that you just said, and let me tell you how God works.
Okay.
So you called your gift carrying a burden. And so yesterday I hung out with my girls, but while I was getting ready, I had just something came over me and I was just thinking about the work that I do, talking to people and wanting them to be able to showcase who they are and their gifts and their talents. And like I mentioned, it's very hard for me to do this. It's not an easy thing. And so I was talking to God and I was sitting there saying, there are pros and cons with this. And sometimes it really does feel like a burden. And I was just praying over it like, God, please, if this is what I should be doing, and there is a message that you want your people to hear and you want them to hear it through me and the conversations that I am having, please, God, send me somebody to tell me something.
Okay.
And here we are, you're saying the same thing that I talked about. And all I can think about is when I did hear you sing and how it did feel like a blessing to me to hear your voice, to hear you singing so beautifully.
Wow.
You know,
Wow. Thank you so much.
yeah.
You're making me nervous. I mean, because I understand and I'm taking my time as I say this, I understand on a very, very like molecular level that there's a world that exists outside of our space,
Yeah.
outside of our influences. And what's important is are we doing the things that impact those spaces?
Yes. Yes.
And so super important to remember that. Also super important to be aware when God answers those prayers.
Amen. Yes.
Super important
Yeah.
because we get so caught up in the work that we miss the fruit that sprouts up along the way.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that you're able to have that. I'm glad that I'm blessed to even be able to provide some level of confirmation for you because these things are important because you don't know how long, you don't know what this conversation will reverberate down the line to somebody else.
Exactly.
And I always believe, even in a social media space, I'm being watched. So I'm very super aware of that. And I try to stay a good steward of that understanding.
I love that. And staying tapped in is exactly that. Because I grew up in the church, similar to you did as well. However, there was a time that I stepped away, and that was early in my 20s. And I was gone for a long time. And not only was I gone, I used to be hating. I'd be like, "Ah, church people, they get on my nerves. They're so hypocritical." And I would describe myself as spiritual, but I still couldn't say what I believed in, even though I knew about God. I just did not have that relationship to know when He was speaking to me, and so there are so many other forces that are always speaking to you. And so now to be on that path, to have a relationship and to recognize His voice in things that come my way, and like when I'm feeling those things overtake me and making me think that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or it's just too much. Like, why would he call me to do this? You know, I don't even like to talk. Why you putting me here? And so to have people come through and answer those prayers, and to know that that was an answer to what I prayed for, I'm just happy to have the relationship. And so with all your experiences, you know, showing up, and it's not just about how you perform, but also the music that you choose to create. Talk to us about that, about your creative process.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you write?
I do write.
Mhm.
I play as well. That helps with the writing. My creative process is very simple. I draw from experiences, and I try not to deviate too far from my confession. That's it.
Uh-huh.
So that encompasses everything. If it's R&B, it has to stay, it has to resonate within my experience. So even tonight, like, my music is clean, it's intentional, it's love, self-love, agape, romantic, but in its highest self.
Uh-huh.
Um, and if on the other side, as a part of the ministry of what I do, um, it is, I do believe, especially in that area, I believe whatever I write is dialed in directly from the Lord. Um, but also it's tethered to my experience and my relationship with him.
Yeah.
Um, and on a less super deep note, um, weird things kind of pique my creative moments, like vacuuming.
Vacuuming? You've got to explain.
It's the hum of the vacuum cleaner. It
Uh-huh.
just gets my mind going. Um, I'm in the shower, obviously. But another weird thing is walking.
Mm.
Um, the rhythm of the walking, depending on what the pace is in my head, if I'm walking, that kind of gets my mind going.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm always on this recording things to make sure I capture it. There's thousands of gigabytes of voice notes of unfinished thoughts, but that's a part of my writing process. And then lastly, people. I used to have a singing group of singers, and I loved diversity in voices, and so I would write to those voices a lot, and that helped as well. So that's just a very small part of my writing process.
No, I love that. I love getting into people's heads.
Mhm.
I call it nerding out when
Okay.
people talk about the things that they're passionate about. And you speak about it in such a way that I can
Okay.
visualize the words, you know, and so even like the walking, right? Because I watch a lot of animal videos, and I like the tippy taps of the dog's paws and things like that. I love that. And so talk to us about some of the things that you're working on currently, because I did see that you have a music video that was released. I saw it on YouTube
hmm
maybe like 4
hmm
months ago.
So that record is called Brand New, and that is a record that I was brought on, being honest, with my friends. Sean Davey, he's an artist, and Brandon Watts was also an artist. Um, we have actually been writing a few songs that we're going to hopefully release in 2026, just as singles, because the work chemistry is so good there. On the other side of that, I am finishing up a tribute record. Um, and I don't want to spend too much time here, but I lost my mom in March. And that has been interesting navigating. But as I said in the beginning of the interview, my mother is a big part of my musical influence.
Yeah.
And there's there's a cover record that that I'm finishing. It's almost done. In honor to her. But it also serves dually as my first official gospel record as a solo artist.
Mhm.
So I'm really super looking forward to that being done and released, and getting the background for that together. So those are the bigger things. And just writing, getting these singles out,
Yeah.
and also providing spaces, or being provided spaces to perform and bring people with me. which will happen tonight.
Mhm.
I got a lot of friends here, and they sing too. So yeah, that's it. Long story short.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to hear about your
Thank you,
mom.
thank you.
I am looking forward to learning about her through the tribute album and when that drops. So looking forward to that. And what are some performances that you have coming up that folks can catch you at?
I will be at Shanklin Hall. I have a couple of dates in between January and February. It's kind of hard to determine now because we're at the end of the fourth quarter,
Yeah,
so most things don't start picking up until like around Valentine's Day usually. But uh, I post everything as far in advance as I possibly can on my social media at Jamaal Sings, Jamaal_Sings on Instagram. I am working on a website as well, so that will also be released. Um, whatever events I will say, whatever events that I plan, if you guys sign up through the event, um, I keep in contact with all of my friends, guests
yeah.
who come to shows, and they usually get first dibs on what's happening next with my schedule.
Okay, awesome. And guys, I will make sure I have all the ways that you can connect with Jamal linked and make it easy to find him, to find out where he'll be performing. And Jamal, thank you so much for
Thank you.
talking to
Thank
me
you. Thank you.
tonight.
Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
so super excited to be closing out the end of 2026 with this interview
Yeah.
and for being able to get inside your head and learn more about you. And so, guys, if you enjoyed this interview, make sure you like, make sure you share, and make sure you go and follow Jamal. Thank you, Spotlight fam. Until next time.